one question I have is, you say it's growth hormone free, it's rBGH-Free.
Right.
How do you prove that? Like, how can a customer know that someone's not just slapping it on a label?
Welcome to PricePlow.
All right, this is Mike with PricePlow, and I'm here with Eric Tomko of Muscle Elements. We're here at Arnold Sports Festival 2017, and so over lunch, we're kind of talking a lot about the truth. You can check out that video. And so one question I have is, you say it's growth hormone free, it's rBGH-Free.
Right.
How do you prove that? Like, how can a customer know that someone's not just slapping it on a label?
So, well, yes, that could be done. And one thing about us is we'll post our certificate analysis. Actually, you can download from our website, which is www.muscle-elements.com. And also on every bottle of truth, there's an indication where you can find how to go about where to go and how to download the C of A. And you can download it. Most people, if it lets you see it, you can just see it. But here you can print it if you want and do whatever you want with it. Now, a couple different steps from manufacturing on. You have the ingredient supplier themselves, the protein houses, the people, the Glambias of the world, and the different providers of the raw material. So when it comes to rBGH-free proteins, those suppliers obviously validate. They have to validate that the cows that were used to provide the end result, the proteins that they are selling, were certified rBGH-free. And they'll have to supply that documentation to the manufacturers. So that's the first step. You order that ingredient house's raw material. They validate that with their own documentation. It's documents that they're certifying that then go to the manufacturer. We've selected a manufacturer. That manufacturer uses that supplier's protein source. They then the protein provider will test the raw materials before they send out to the manufacturer. The manufacturer will also then test. They have all kinds of different testing methods. Now, you can't actually test. They have different infrared type of tests, sophisticated tests, but they test based on the quality, but you can't actually test for a hormone-free source or not. You can test the quality, and if it measures what the different parameters, if you will, that the supplier said it does. So you basically have to go on the documentation that's provided from the start of the whole process, and provided that you're using a manufacturer or ingredient supplier that is upstanding, good reputation, and has all the different certifications.
It seems like there's a level of trust there then, because if I started Mike'sBathtubSupplements.com and I got it from some shady company in the middle of China, let's say, and they said, oh yeah, this is our rBGH-free or whatever, and then I could say that.
Yeah, and there are brands out there that there are different things that brands do. There are sometimes brands may use one source of hormone-free, but then say that their whole product is hormone-free.
Okay.
There's brands that say a lot of things, but there's a lot of times or they'll use one source of grass-fed, and then they might have 5 of those sources, and they say they're all grass-fed. But it does come down to level of trust. But when you're using the right types of companies that have a good track record, look, there is documentation, and it could be traced back. There is no DNA testing, if you will, or stuff like that to actually test the powder that comes through, whether it's RGB, but you have to go back and trace the paperwork back to the original source, and that original source will validate that this powder here was used from cows that were not treated with the hormone, and that's what you're stuck with.
Yeah. So a lot of it seems like consumer needs to choose a trusted company that's showing as much data as possible.
Yep.
And like we've seen third-party lab tests of your protein, it was actually had more protein than advertised, and no spiking and everything. So that was great. But then you need to see, like, trust those companies that they're going to go with the trusted actual raw material suppliers and manufacturers as well.
Right.
There's like a lot of layers to it.
Right. And we would provide documentation. I honestly don't know if we would be at liberty to disclose the documents from the ingredient supplier to the manufacturer. I don't know if, honestly, but we'd be willing to ask. But yeah, I mean, there is just documentation you have.
Cool.
A lot of testing, and I might add, as far as the protein content, so far the lowest content has come back at that 25 grams per scoop. We've had a batch of vanilla come back at 28.8.
What?
And you know what? And you're only paying for 24, but we want to make sure that we don't fall short. FDA says you can be plus or minus. We don't want to be minus, so we're gonna always try to be on the plus side. At least that's the instructions we've given our manufacturer.
Thanks, Eric. So if you're looking for rBGH-free protein powder, you have Muscle Elements' Truth, which is free of all artificial flavors, colors, and sweeteners.
Yep.
Thank you.